So there we were, we got back to things, Sarah got back to work, and I started gigging again, and I hadn't thought about this show. This was about 8 weeks before the Edinburgh Festival this show was originally going to go on, and obviously I hadn't thought about the show, and I put the show down, and Sarah went off for the evening, and she went out with some friends, and I got the sunflower notebook out, opened it up, poured myself a glass of wine, started asking myself the difficult questions like, where does that Chesney Hawkes routine go? Funny, yes, but what's the point of it? What's the point of that Paul Catamore bit? We'll never know. So difficult questions like that. I was going to write a routine about a trip me and my friend Chris Betts took to Monkey World. I was probably going to write that. You ever been to Monkey World? Go. Have you ever been to a zoo? It's like a zoo, but with none of the shit animals. It's just monkeys. It delivers in a way that World of Leather does not. So I think I was going to write that. And I was going to find some way to make that Chesney Hawkes bit fit into Monkey World, look back and have a satisfying conclusion to the show. I was pretty confident I was going to be able to do that, because I'm a very well-regarded comedian and exceedingly good at my job. But I'll never know what that show would have been, and neither will you. Later on that evening, my phone rang, and it was Sarah, and I picked it up, and it wasn't Sarah, it was a friend of hers, to tell me that she'd collapsed, and could I come immediately? So I went to where she was, and she couldn't stand up, and she couldn't sit down, and she couldn't speak, and she was white as a sheet, and she was crying, and she was in a lot of pain. It was very scary. So I rang the ambulance, and the ambulance said that they would be there in 4 hours, which is not quick enough. So I got her in the back seat of my car, and I drove as fast as I possibly could to the nearest hospital. And I got out, and I found a paramedic, and I said, could you please help me get my wife out the back of the car? And he said no, because she did not come in an ambulance, so it's not my job. So I ran inside to A&E, and I said the same thing to the person behind the desk, and they said, well, there's a queue. Now, I'm not a medical professional, I am a clown, but just a cursory glance at the clue, nobody seemed to be dying. So, okay, so I ran back out to see if I could find the paramedic and beg him, and he wasn't there anymore. So I ran back inside to the A&E, and I got the same story, and I didn't really know what to do, so I went outside one final time, and there was this nurse there, and she was smoking. And I've long held that smokers are the greatest people in our society. They have the best stories, they're the most generous, they're the only people left in the world who are aware that the things that they like and bring them pleasure might be considered corrosive and disgusting by others, which makes them far better than, say, YouTubers. So she said, can I help you? And I said, yeah. And I nearly buckled under the weight of the gratitude, and she had me get Sarah out of the car, and we got her into A&E. And then someone said, well, you can't leave your car there. It'll get towed. And I was like, oh, yeah, God, got to move the car. So we just had that parking ticket. We hadn't been working. Threat of financial penalty at that point. It's very real. So I left Sarah in A&E, and I ran, and I put the car in the car park. And then I was running from the car park back to A&E, and there was a sign. And the sign said I had to find £4.80 and give it to something called Gemini Parking Solutions, or they'd take the car away again. Now, I didn't have £4.80 on me at the time, so it was actually quite a production. Did the machine take credit cards? Did it bollocks? Did they have an online thing I could use a smartphone? Did it bollocks? I had to go and find £4.80, so I did. I finally found £4.80. I paid the ticket. It took quite a while, and I went back into A&E. So I got back into A&E, and Sarah's there. Nobody had dealt with her. She was on her hands and knees on the floor, and she was crying, and nobody had dealt with her. And I went up to the person and said, look, it's been some time, can we at least try and sort this out? And I got the thing about the queue. And one of the gentlemen in the queue, he had like a broken finger. And he said, it's fine. I think you should deal with that lady. Because this is a broken finger. It will wait. And then the woman told him to mind his own business, and then other people joined in, and eventually we did get to skip the queue. So we got into this little room, and then a nurse gave Sarah an absolute fuck ton of morphine. And I've got to say, when that morphine hit, she got very funny. Like, really... She was lining things up and knocking them down. Like, I'm a professional, I was impressed. I was like, that is very good. That's some good stuff. And she had this huge distended belly, and nobody knew why. Nobody could work out what was going on. She had this huge distended belly, and we were there. We were in this room, and she said to me at one point on morphine, she said, "I feel like one of those povo African kids off Comic Relief." So I'll just leave that there. And then she said, I said! I feel like one of those povo African kids. I said, I fucking heard you! So did all those nurses, and I haven't had any morphine, so just wait for them to leave and just be cool, all right? Just be cool.